Have you ever had an experience that was just so good? It was brilliant, and you just believe in your heart and in your soul that there is no way on this earth that it's possible for you to replicate or to have that same level of brilliance again with regards to that sort of an experience. You see, I think that a lot of riders who have left riding for whatever reason, and there's lots of reasons we can fall out of regular riding, okay? But they've left riding. I think that holds them back from actually getting back in the saddle because they believe that there's no way it can be as good as it was. Well, I'm here to tell you that you know what? Not even can it be as good. I think it can be even better. And I want to explain why today. So if you're kind of putting off getting back in the saddle, listen to this and then take action at the end, okay? Right, let's dive in. Hey there, and welcome to the Daily Strides podcast. My name is reminisce. I'm an equestrian trainer and coach, and I work with riders from all over the world to help them to understand more about riding so that they can enjoy it more and have more fun in the saddle with their horse. Okay, and today I want to focus specifically on those riders who, they've been putting things off for a while, and usually a while is like a fairly prolonged period of time. I want to encourage you today. I want to light a fire in your belly, okay? I want today to be the day that you finish listening to this and you're like, that's it, enough of this nonsense. I'm doing it. I'm making a plan. I'm getting back into regular riding again, okay? And maybe for you, the word regular is important there because maybe it's been a bit hit and miss, like you miss a day, you get a day. There's no rhythm, there's no rhyme to it, okay? But I want to encourage you to really and truly get back in the saddle, and not only get back in the saddle, make it even better than it was before. Because believe it or believe it not, you actually have the potential to do that right now. Now, I know myself that when we look back at something that happened before, we can get all nostalgic and, sentimental, warm and fuzzy, okay? We get all the feelings about it. We reminisce about things and we tend to put on rose-tinted glasses and we forget about all the hardships that happened there, and we tend to only want to focus on the brilliant times, okay? And very often those brilliant times were actually maybe a little bit few and far between, but we tend to focus on that. And this is so true for horse riding as well, okay? When we've had a significant time away, we actually can begin to question if there's any way that it could ever be like that again, okay? We have this big doubt about getting back in the saddle and I suppose tapping into what was, okay? And what that does is it actually stops us from taking action. We don't go out, we don't tack up, we don't mount up, we don't spend time with the horse, we don't book the lesson, we don't go out and mend the arena or whatever it is that we need to do. We stop exploring maybe local riding clubs. We don't contact the local riding school. We do none of that stuff. And it's usually because we're worrying that this maybe new riding experience, that it's going to leave you feeling maybe regretful about coming back to riding because it'll almost maybe tarnish all the happy, lovely, wonderful memories that you have. It won't. I'll tell you why. First and foremost, when you have been away from something for a while, you tend to have a deeper appreciation of it when you get back. The whole absence makes the heart grow fonder and all that sort of fun stuff. I think that when we apply this to horse riding, it often actually requires us to take the action. It's no good thinking about it. That does not make the heart grow fonder, okay? You have to actually take the action. You have to get into the saddle or at least get to the horse, okay? You have to do something. You have to really physically do something in order to allow that realization of missing out, okay? And couple it with the life experience that you've had between then and now, okay? that leads to this deeper appreciation, and you can allow that for not only yourself, but also for your body, for your horse, for the connection and the relationship that you have together. There is this deeper appreciation of everything. I've seen time and again that when riders come back to riding after a significant break, they're just more dedicated. They allocate time very, very strategically and very intentionally for riding. They have this increased focus, a clearer intention, and they also usually are more curious about different things, about why they're doing the things and how they're doing the things. And they really realize that the time spent with their horse is special, and they realize how privileged they are to actually get to have a conversation with a horse and to develop a partnership with a horse, because, I think we can all be in agreement here. It's pretty magic, isn't it? But they tend to have that. So if you take action this week, you're going to feel that. You're going to have a deeper appreciation, which is going to allow you to go further. Now, I spoke about the curiosity there, and I really do think that this is a big part of how coming back to riding after a break actually becomes better than what it was before. It's because you want to find out more. When we're learning to ride initially, we can often tend to rush through those early lessons. Now, you probably have had an instructor or a trainer, and you've probably experienced this, who you kind of thought, listen, you're being a bit of a handbrake here. Come on, get on with it. I want to learn the things. Like, let's get on to the next thing. This is so exciting. Yeah, when you come back to riding after a break, you become more curious about the basics. You want to know how things work and why things work. You want to find out the nitty gritty, like what would happen if my aids were applied a different way, or if I use these aids in a different situation, and how could I develop my basics more? You have this curiosity that is actually going to help you to become more skilled in the saddle, because you want to understand now why you're doing all of the things. It's kind of like a catalyst that helps us go from being, so mediocre, hey, to being like this great horse person. It doesn't mean you have to be the greatest rider in the world, but when you stay curious, okay, and this is even if your body potentially is not what it was back then, okay? Like maybe there's a significant amount of time, or maybe things have happened. We've all had experiences, okay? Maybe your body is not what it was. You will have a greater wanting to learn how to use your body better as it is now, okay? And how to use it to work with your horse more. And that is going to allow you to develop your skills now way past what you were able to do before, okay? Like you are going to go so much further than what your previous expectations and what your previous abilities were when you were riding, all because you have this new curiosity. Now, I also think that when you couple this kind of deeper appreciation, this really just, I can't wait to find out all the things. Why? Curiosity, with the fact that you also have this fresh start. You see, now you can go places, hey? Because for so many riders, they will come back to riding after potentially leaving it because it wasn't that much fun anymore. And that is not a comfortable thing to admit. Many riders won't admit it. They will use other excuses. But at the end of the day, if you stopped riding, for the most part, okay, not always, but for the most part, it often comes down to the fact that it just was not a high enough priority for you. And why was it not a high enough priority? Well, it wasn't all that much fun, was it? So when you're actually coming back now to riding, you can begin to rewrite things. You can begin to rewrite your expectations, okay, your story about being a rider. For example, if confidence became an issue for you originally, you can actually come back to riding with this stronger focus on maybe groundwork and partnership and connection with your horse. And over time, that's actually going to lead you to confident riding again, if that's what you want. If it's not what you want, then that's fine as well, okay? But it's so important that we take the opportunity for this fresh start, okay? To let go of the old stories that held us back. And maybe you had stories about time or about your resources or about your abilities as a rider, what you can do, what you can't do. You know, when you come back to riding after a break, after a significant break, you actually get to write a whole new story. You can actually close the book on the previous one. Like that was then, you know, like an old journal or an old diary, okay? Maybe you have a year planner and it's like the end of the year and you close the book and you put it into the cupboard because that's done. It's finished. Yes, maybe every now and then you'll go back and reference things out of it, but for the most part, it's done. Well, your old riding can be seen as being that. And now you can actually begin a new book, okay? You can start with new habits, okay? And this is also a key point. If you back previously, when you were riding before, had particular habits, okay, that you struggled to change, you maybe your lower leg was swinging, okay? Or maybe you tended to collapse in the saddle. You can rewrite all of that now because you're coming to it with a body that really isn't in tip-top shape for riding, okay? You're not riding fit. So you actually get to remold and to remake things the way you want them to be. Your body and your mind are just so much more like pliable now, okay? Like they're malleable. You can change it and mold it. And when you take advantage of that, whatever you struggled with back then no longer has to be a struggle now, which in and of itself automatically makes things better, doesn't it? Of course it does. And the final thing that I want to bring up is how when you come back to riding after a break, very often you will begin to develop a stronger connection and a stronger partnership with your horse. There's something really special that happens to most of us with the passage of time, okay? We tend to develop a greater appreciation for each and every individual we kind of meet along our path, okay? And this applies to animals and to horses as well. And when you're getting back into the saddle after a longer break, it almost like opens you up to the fact that your connection with your horse is very much energy based, okay? You can allow yourself to become more, if you want, intuitively led about how you work with your horse and your interactions with your horse. When we're younger, and not very young, by the way, children who are very young tend to naturally do this. It's kind of that middle period, you know, from like when we're, you know, maybe 15, 16 up until, I don't want to say an age, okay? But there's kind of a period in our life where we just get very wrapped up in things and in how things look and the way things are and all that fun stuff. And then as we get older, we tend to almost revert back. We realize, no, hold on. I had it right at the beginning. We were right initially when I was small and I really just allowed myself to be intuitively led by what excited me and what lit me up. That's actually the way to go, that you made time for every conversation. You were fascinated by everybody you met. Do you remember that? Do you remember? Maybe you can't remember, but I'm sure if you know a little person, you will see that in them. They just are so focused and so absorbed by each conversation they're a part of. And you can then bring that to your riding. You can bring it to your connection with your horse. It's almost like we place less emphasis on doing things right and more emphasis on doing it together. That's a really, really important shift. And for the most part, I won't say everybody, okay? We all know the people who they don't tend to make that shift. But for the most part, most people will make that shift, okay? And when you become very intentional about it, that's how you can actually put it into practice for you and your horse, especially when you come up against speed wobbles. And you're going to get speed wobbles, hey? So often for riders, coming back to riding and getting back in the saddle actually becomes less about the riding and more about developing that deep and trusting bond with their horse. And of course, that's the magic. That's what it's all about. That is what horse riding is. It's the conversation between horse and rider. Okay, so I'm hoping that if you have been sitting on a fence about getting back in the saddle, I am encouraging you now to I'm the gentle nudge, or maybe the little bit more forceful nudge if you need it, to take action, to do something, because that's what it all comes down to. You can think about it all day long, but I want you to actually take action to get the ball rolling. And I'm going to give you 3 specific things that you're going to choose from today. Number 1, you can go out and you can prepare your equipment and your space. I want you to start small, and you're going to use your efforts to inspire you to do more, okay? Now, if you're thinking, what do you mean by that? Well, I've got a free resource for you. If you pop over to stridesforsuccess.com/15, and it's the number 15, there's 80 plus ideas there that you can do in 15 minutes or less around the barn. Some of them include just preparing the space, because when you get there and you start doing things, and I know this from first-hand experience, by the way, when you get there and you start doing things, just like moving things around, cleaning things out, sorting through things, preparing a space to maybe groom your horse and tack up your horse, stuff like that, that inspires more action. It's amazing. It just does. I don't know how it works, but it does, okay? It's like you just start, and then all these ideas will come to you, and you'll start feeling excited and curious and all the good vibes, eh? You're going to feel it all. Okay, my second choice for you would be a groundwork session with your horse. So I want you to spend time reconnecting with your horse in the ground. Now, obviously, this is going to help to rebuild or to build initially trust and establish the communication, and not only that, to get a feel for each other before you actually ride, okay? Now, if you want more information on how you can do that better, I'm going to suggest you pop over to stridesforsuccess.com/energy. I have a free training there, a live training that you can sign up for, and I will give you actual practical exercises that you can do with your horse this week, okay? And then my third suggestion is a lunging session with your horse. Now, this is taking things a little further, okay? This is actually getting into the arena, and 12 minutes of intentional lunging. And just like before, I also have a free training to get you started. You can pop on over to stridesforsuccess.com/3 days. So it's the number 3 days. And all the links for all of these free trainings are in the show notes for this episode. It's over at stridesforsuccess.com/episode 1355. But they're also wherever you're listening to this now. You can just scroll down and you will be able to join up or sign up from there as well. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. Do something like this week. Let this week be the week that you make a plan. Let's put a date on it. Let's say that if you're listening to this in real time, that by the 1st of March, you are going to have taken action to get you back into regular riding again. I think that's a great commitment. And if you know of any other riders who maybe need to hear this, who maybe need a little nudge, please, won't you share it with them and help them to also take action to get back into the saddle. Trust me, it will be even better than it was before. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. Have a great day. Keep well, and I'll chat to you soon. Be good. Bye.